Hey,
Well, you're sweating.
Jill,
We're freezing.
you're
So,
freezing?
yeah.
It's not freezing here. It's hot. We had a block party yesterday, and it was so hot. Fortunately, they put some tents up, so we sat under the shade, and with a breeze, it was okay. But as soon as you got out in that sun, it was like, God, you just sweat.
So you actually went out and met your neighbors finally?
I know it was radical.
To meet any
It
nice
only
people,
it only took us 4 years, Kevin. What's that, Jill?
to meet some nice people.
Oh yes, they're all very nice people. They're very sweet. Lots of little kids. The kids were playing bean bags. They had a board with a hole in it, and they're trying to throw it in. It was fun just to watch the kids. And Annie and I were definitely the elders of the group, which is quite a trip. Well, where's Ran? He's watching Millie, I think. Okay, so today we're going to do a little work on yin and yang cycles, and kind of connecting that to the whole idea of silk reeling too. Unfortunately, Catherine can't be here today. She's on the train going from Paris to her home on the coast, so she's not going to be here. It's kind of a shame, but it's the way it goes. Okay, so you guys get the basic idea. Um, there's something called I should have queued this up, but I didn't think about it until just a second ago. There's something called the 8 characteristics of Chen style Tai Chi. And that is some former teacher from some probably many generations ago. His way of encapsulating what it is you do when you do Chen style Tai Chi as opposed to other forms of Kung Fu, other styles of Tai Chi. And one of the third of those is Lo Xuan Yundong. Lo Xuan Yundong means spiral movement. All right, so spiral movement. Boom. Um, but they all sort of work together at the same time. So it's like 8 characteristics, but actually it's all pointing toward one thing, right? Which is you, which is what you do. Right? One of the characteristics, and think it's I think it's number 6, um, is I have to find a good English translation. One breath movement. Now, this is not very commonly known in the United States. I got it from John. So there are very few English translations. In fact, I don't doubt if you can even find any on Google. Um, what it really means is a movement in one go. That's how Brian Guan translated it. One go movement, right? Boom, one go movement. But that kind of literally what it means is one breath movement. And if you think about it as something to do with the breath, it makes a lot of sense, right? Because it's breathe in, breathe out. Oh, okay, one breath movement. And that ties in with, right, winding up and then striking. Right? Breathe in, breathe out. And those are the yin and yang, right? When you breathe in, it's yin. When you breathe out, it's yang. When you coil up, it's yin. When you uncoil, it's yang. So it's very simple. Honestly, I don't know how you can get much simpler than that. It's a simple idea. The Tai Chi form is a way of practicing that idea in all kinds of different directions. Some go up, some go down, some go out, some come in, right? So it's just, okay, well, all right, how do you practice that idea? Well, we'll make up a routine where you go through these movements in every different direction, and you'll see how it works, and you'll get a chance to practice it. So the entire form is made up of yin and yang. Breathe in and breathe out. Coil up and uncoil. Right? And then some transitions in between one yin and yang cycle and another yin and yang cycle. Right? Often it's the transitions when you're first learning the form, you're going to learn the outer physical choreography. And it's often those transitions between cycles that give people the most trouble. So I'm trying to come up with a way of teaching this where we can kind of obviate that. And I think the way to teach it is to teach the yin and yang cycles and then go, okay, that's a cycle, and then this is a cycle, and there's got to be a connection between the two. And that's the transition. All right. Okay, so the very first move, we've been through this before, but I was having a daydream about this earlier, about inviting some folks over and doing some push hands in front of you guys, and even suggesting that you all get a partner. So, Jill, what's your partner's name?
Dan.
Dan. So you can get Dan, and Kevin can get Lee, and Rand, I don't remember Rand's partner's name, but Rand's partner can come in. And there's Rand.
It's Goni.
I'm saying it's what?
Goni, Gony.
Goni, okay. The partner work is not sparring. It is not sparring. It's push hands. Push hands is a training regime. It is not a conflict regime. But there's a little conflict sort of built into it. And I was trying to figure out some ways to do this and do it safely and even do it online. And I think it would give you guys some really good experience and really good feel for what is going on. And even if we just do the simplest things, because just like Tai Chi, if you really understand, if you've really peeled the onion down to the center, you realize, oh my God, this stuff is very simple. There are just a few basic principles, and once you get that idea, then you can apply them in a million different ways, and that makes it look complex, but actually underneath, it's very simple. It's always the same thing. It's the same thing in push hands. When someone pushes on you, say they're pushing here, when they're pushing on you, what is that, Kevin, what is that energy, yin or yang? When they're pushing.
Yang.
So if they're pushing with yang energy, what should you do?
Yin.
Yin, right? So suppose someone comes in, right, and they're going to push on you, right? Here comes their push. What is a way to deal with that? One of the things that you might keep in mind when you push hands with somebody is when you can when you can feel they're going to start something, don't move away from them, move toward them. Why would you want to do that, Kevin? Somebody, you can feel this guy's going to start pulling something pretty quick. All right? So I'm going to move toward him. Why?
Well,
Oh.
short circuits hit him, and then you've also, you know, got an advantage because you're closer, change the angle, etc.
And what happens when he starts to push?
Because he had no room for windup. But
Yes, you could steal his room to wind up, but the real advantage of it, when you do Tai Chi and you do push hands, um, Tai Chi is a defensive art. You don't attack first. If the other guy doesn't attack, you don't attack. If he attacks, as Master Zhang, the way Master Zhang used to say it is, you no move, I no move. You move, I move faster. All right. So when you begin to feel some action in this other guy, and you know he's going to push you, and you have a pretty good idea even where he's going to push you, you might move toward him so that you can then retreat. All right. So he starts to push on my shoulder. What do? I just retreat. So simple. Costs you no effort at all. All right. As you retreat, all right, just I'm on my left foot. Watch this. I'm going to shift to my right foot. All right. Doesn't cost you no effort whatsoever. Which means you can stay relaxed. So when you push with someone, the first thing that you have to develop, and this is why they do toy show, push hands, as opposed to sparring, as opposed to fighting. Fighting is up here. Sparring is in the middle. Push hands is really simple. And when you do push hands, you're working with a partner, you're working with a training partner. Your number one job is to take care of your training partner, make sure he or she does not get hurt. All right? So, the first thing you have to develop is the ability to hear what the other guy's doing. All right? You have to be able to perceive what they're going to do before they're even conscious of it. And you think, oh, well, that's sort of silly. How is that even possible? It's because most decisions on physical movement are actually created in the body before they become conscious in the mind. And you can feel it in the body before the other guy is even aware of it. Now, we're talking about split seconds, but in martial arts, split seconds are a long time. Right? So the first thing is perception. The second thing is defensive, is to neutralize the other guy's energy. All right? So he's going to push on here, I just go like this. His hand comes in like this, I just go like this. I'm not trying to do anything to him, right? Just going like this. And he's going to go like this. The third thing is to counterattack. If the right side of my body is the defensive side, right, then the left side of my body is the counter side. Right? He comes in and pushes. This side yields, is yin. The left side is the counterattack, is yang. Boom. It's all one motion. It's one breath. Breathe in, breathe out. All right? One breath movement, one go movement. It's all unified. Does that make sense? Make sense, Jill? All right.
Sadly, oh, I was just gonna say, sadly, that I visualized an application for this of what you're just talking about is if somebody unfortunately is trying to push you on the train tracks at the rail station.
Yes. I hope that never happens, but
I hope it never happens either, but
but if it does, that's a good way to deal with it. Hold on just a second. I get tired of yelling over that air conditioner. Okay, that basic idea is what every yin and yang cycle is. It's listen, neutralize, counterattack. Listen, neutralize, counterattack. All right? Guys coming in on me here. So listen is just a metaphor for perceive what's going on. All right? Perceive what's going on. Neutralize. Counterattack. Perception is a yin function. You are receiving information from your environment. It's coming in to your ears, into your eyes, into your skin and body. So it's coming in. That's yin. All right? Neutralization is also yin. I'm not having energy go out. Usually, sometimes when you're neutralizing, energy can go out. But the function is not really to attack the other guy, it's to neutralize his energy. So I'm just thinking, I was just thinking if I could get Annie in here to do something, but I hear her cooking, so there's no way she's coming in here. All right. So you're neutralizing the guy's energy. Boom. That's also a yin function. You're bringing the energy in. You're neutralizing the energy. It's a yin function. The counterattack, however, is a yang function. Yin, yang. Yin, yang. Do you see that the yin function, although it's neutralizing this guy's incoming energy, it's also allowing me to wind up to do a yang function. So it's actually doing two things. Both are yin functions, but watch my waist. So the guy comes in to push me, all right? All right. So the defensive move is also the wind up for the offensive move. It's defensive on one side and offensive on the other. It's this movement. It's this simple. When we do silk reeling, it's the same thing. This is defensive. Watch this arm. It's the same thing. It's not a fist, but it's the same thing. Does it make sense? Yes? Jill? Jill, you look a little worried about it. Does it make sense? Okay. All right. So the first move is 3 yin and yang cycles in a row. All right? Listen, neutralize, coil up, counterattack. Listen, coil up, counterattack. Listen, coil up, counterattack. So simple. It's so simple. In fact, there's only one real transition in there. The others are so compatible with each other, it just goes from one to the other without any transition. Listen. Right? Neutralize, which is the same as coiling up, and counterattack. Transition, listen, coil up, counterattack. Listen, coil up, counterattack. If you add the Fa-Yin in here, which is an explosive energy on the counterattack, it would look like this. Right? We don't do that explosive energy when we're doing the form because it tires you out. You are when you do Fa-Yin. Wait a second. When you do Fa-Yin, you're literally pumping energy out of your body, and it will tire you out eventually. Yeah, Jill.
Just a question, does that break the golden thread?
This is one of the reasons that we don't do it at the beginning, and by the beginning I mean the first 5 to 8 years, because it should not. But you have to have built a fairly good foundation of inner skill of Qigong so that you can do that without it breaking. I'll tell you how to do it. All right. You're soft. You're soft, but there's going to be a pulse of energy that comes, in this case, down your arm. Might be your elbow, might be your knee, but in this case, it's down your arm. There's going to be a pulse of energy. That pulse of energy is hard. But let's say the pulse of energy has gotten down to about the middle of your forearm, right? In front of the pulse is soft. Behind the pulse is soft. It's only that wave of energy that's hard. And in a certain sense, even that wave is not hard. All right? As soon as you release the energy into your opponent, you are absolutely soft again. It's not that difficult. But as with everything else, it just takes some practice.
So it's the steel needle in the ball of yarn.
That's exactly what it is. And if you've ever felt that steel needle in real life, you will never forget it. So my favorite little teaching tool, right? A rolled up towel. It's completely relaxed. There's nothing hard in here. But if you create a wave of energy through this towel, when the towel flicks you, it will take an inch off your skin. Well, where's the hard stuff? Where's the hardness in here? It's in the energy of it. It's not in the physical thing itself. You see what I mean? It's in the energy that you impart in this. All right. Now, I took some paint off the cabinet there. There's nothing hard in it. But if you've ever been in a locker room and you got a guy with a wet towel, right? Boom, it hurts.
That was my brother when we were doing dishes.
Well, I hope he didn't hurt you too bad.
Oh,
But in a sense, that's what Tai Chi is, right? First, you got to scope out the situation. You have to listen to the situation, so to speak. If the guy's 10 yards in that direction, well, you're not going to get him with your towel, so what's the point? You have to know right where he is. And then you're going to wind up, and then you're going to unwind. It's that simple. Try that on Dan tonight after he takes a shower. Get him with a wet towel on the ass. Take an inch of skin off and see what he says. And just tell him, look, my Tai Chi teacher said I had to do this. This is part of my practice. All right.
I
Just
think
make
he
sure.
can hear you.
What's that?
I think he can hear you.
Oh, watch out, Dan. She's coming for you. Just make sure to take it off the back, not the front. All right. Oh, okay. So it's that simple little idea is really what the Tai Chi form is. All right. Now, what's your job? Your job is to come with me through the form and learn what every single yin and yang cycle is. Where it is, what it is, what you're doing, what the right angles are, etc., etc. And then you practice it for the next 40 years, all right? It's very simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There are places in the form where there are hidden things. They're not obvious. Some of them we should probably just skip over because they just sort of confuse things. Others are, I think, are really important to get because they help fill the form out. So this one. Most people don't even realize that there's a yin and yang cycle there. They just think, well, this is going up in order to go down. Well, that's true, all right? But they don't realize, oh, there's a circle and a strike there. So they just come up and they go down. It's a little empty. All right? But in fact, imagine someone comes up and puts their hands on you. You come up, you draw them in a little bit, and then you go into their ribs or into their body. It's a version of this first one, only it's to the side. Right? It's really the same thing. Clear, Jill? Clear? Now, from my point of view as a teacher, what I'd like all you guys to be able to do is develop your own eyes, so to speak, so that you can watch a move in Tai Chi. It doesn't even have to be our style of Tai Chi, because all Tai Chi works the same way. All right? You watch someone doing Tai Chi, and you can analyze what it is they're doing. Oh, they're listening. Oh, they're neutralizing and they're coiling their energy up. Oh, they're pushing their energy out. That was one cycle. Every Tai Chi move, not everyone, almost every Tai Chi move is composed of more than one yin and yang cycle. Kevin, we sort of went through and were fooling around with trying to decide what we were going to do for each of these. I think some of them had what, 8, 10, 12 yin and yang cycles in one move. But there are moves that just have one. I think. Maybe 2, right? Watch this one. All right. 1, 2. Wind up, strike. Wind up, strike. First strike is with the backhand. Second strike is with the elbow.
In 83, Lazily Tai's Code has one move.
Yes, you're right. That is the shortest move in the entire not just that form, but any form. All right. The entire move is this, guy. That's it. That's the move. It's a joint lock. Speaking of joint locks, I was going to talk with Kevin about something. I sent you a video like a week or so ago, and it was a week or maybe even 10 days ago, of a guy. I can't remember. I think he was doing applied Aikido, and he was talking about, I never do joint locks. Remember him saying that? In the Tai Chi forms, there are dozens and dozens and dozens of joint locks. And yet the guy's right. you shouldn't do joint locks. So why are there so many joint locks in the form if you shouldn't do joint locks? For two reasons. The one reason is joint locks require a lot of very subtle Qigong. A lot of very subtle movement of the body. So to have all the joint locks in the form encourages you to really study and work with your inner energy body and your physical body. The other reason is, although he did not say it, Master Feng used to say the same thing. Only his way of saying it didn't rule joint locks out. It just qualified when you would use them. And the Chinese phrase is "da gi da shi." Only when you are in the right position, the perfect position, and only when your opponent gives you the opportunity. In other words, you don't purposefully go out to do this. It happens by accident. It's not something that I'm going to go out and do this joint lock on this guy. No. You practice all the joint locks, and then if a situation in the wrestling match, if a situation arises that a joint lock could be done, then you just do it. But that requires a pretty high level of preparation. You have to know the joint locks. The joint locks that we learn are the 36 joint locks of Shaolin. That sounds like a Hong Kong Kung Fu movie, doesn't it? The 36 joint locks. So it's like, you killed my master, now I will kill you. Right, the 36 joint locks of Shaolin. But you don't go, oh, now I'm going to go do this arm lock on this guy. No, you don't think about it at all. Right? It's just that if in the middle of this chaotic frenzy, you feel the setup is there, you're in the right position, your opponent gives you the opportunity, then do it. But like I say, a beginner's not going to be able to do that. Yeah, Kevin.
Well, he was also differentiating between protecting your life and MMA. And,
Yeah.
you know, there are no rules in protecting your life. So you're going to use whatever technique, poke him in the eye, Three Stooges style, you know, that.
Yeah, well, that's why there are three levels of quote unquote combat in Tai Chi training. And the same thing is true in all the other Chinese martial arts. There's the beginner level, there's an intermediate level, and there's a very advanced level. Almost no one ever gets to the advanced level. Ever. I would guess that there are less than a dozen Tai Chi masters who work at that level. In other words, they can fight. And if you watch YouTube videos, you could see a lot of Tai Chi masters who are really at the beginning level, and they get in with an MMA guy and they get clobbered because they've never learned to fight. Fighting and push hands are two completely different things. This is a training regime to eventually get there, but you're talking about 10 years of hard work in between. And you have to be part of a school where they fight. All right? And you learn how to fight. Now, in between is sparring. Sparring is really what they really do in MMA is kind of sparring with a little fighting on top of it. But there are so many rules involved with MMA that it's not really fighting. Boxing, right? I'm not saying these guys are not amazing, but boxing is not really fighting. Fighting is, we're going to try to kill each other. And there are no rules. I will do whatever it takes to survive. Right? It's really ugly. And it's really nasty. And you've got to be prepared for that. Professional boxing matches and professional taekwondo and all that are kind of somewhere in between sparring and fighting, but they still have lots and lots of rules. When you're boxing, you can't hit somebody on the back of the head. Right? Well, people do, but they're not supposed to, and they get penalized for it, etc., etc. We don't even go anywhere close to that. All right? But push hands allows you a kind of, it allows you to get on the bike and pedal. Instead of just talking about what it's like to ride a bike, you actually get on the bike. All right? And you pedal around the block. Okay, now you have a completely different relationship with the bike than you did when you just sat there and looked at it. All right? So we got to figure out how to do a little push hands. And I know Dan's going to want to do this.
Do you have a date in mind to do this, like next weekend?
No, I just the daydream just came up this morning, so we'll have to think about it a little bit.
Well, if I give him a heads up, I'm sure he would do it.
Well, let me think about it a little bit, and maybe in another month or so we can get this together, and I can get some friends over here, and we can do just some very very basic simple things, all right? But that would still give you a feeling for it. Okay, guys, have yourselves a great day. We'll see you next time.